Straight down.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful Christmas week as we head into the final days of 2024. Pretty crazy, but it is true. Lance is here. D. What's up, D? Doc 7, Alan. Good to see you as always. I see Dave, Sabrina Fair. How is everything? Happy Hanukkah. Samir, John Wayne, Sandra, Roland, Monday, Sally, Austin City Limits. We're outside Trump Tower. I'm going to try to get us to Times Square tonight. We'll see if the internet will hold up. We'll see if we can make it. Interesting day in the markets. Troy Atman is here. What's up, Troy? Thanks for joining us. Tom Barry is here. Addie, Lulu. And of course, we have the one and only Peter here. What's up, Peter? This is greetings from a rainy East Tennessee. Rain and warmer temperatures are headed to New York City. Yeah, I heard about that. I think starting at 3 a.m., it's going to be pretty rainy. Now, here's the thing. I'm praying and hoping to God that we don't have crazy rain on New Year's Eve. That would really, really suck because that's no fun, right? We want to be able to walk around on a night like this, not too cold, not too hot, and not rainy. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will not have any rain for New Year's Eve. This is an awesome shot of Steinway Tower, the skinniest residential apartment building in the world, Central Park Tower as well, and the Crown Building. And we are right outside the one and only Trump Tower here as we approach Fifth Avenue. Top Cats is a New York City fan watching from Scotland. Good evening, Tom. Well, thank you so much, and good to see all of our Scottish viewers. Now, we are going to head down to 34th Street, Penn Station. Obviously, I do want to see, what's it called? The stage for New Year's Eve set up in Times Square. But I don't know if there's going to be traffic. I don't know if there's going to be roads closed off at Penn Station because I believe somebody was just set on fire. Another person set on fire, I think right at the entrance to the Long Island Railroad. So we'll try to avoid that. Hopefully everybody is okay. It seems to be a running trend in New York City right now. A lot of homeless people lighting random people on fire, which is quite crazy. So just be vigilant, I guess. Stay alert. That's kind of a weird warning to everybody. But yeah, I mean, if you're walking around, make sure nobody tries to light you on fire. It's kind of weird that we have to caution against that, but it is what it is. Lots of tourists out. It's a beautiful night. Lila's here. What's going on? Rich Girl Era. Dollar Bill. Cheers to you. Traffic is crazy, crazy, crazy down Fifth Avenue. But on the bright side, there are a lot of tourists here for the holidays, which is good for the small businesses and really just good for the economy in general in New York. We could even probably use it as a leading indicator for what's to come for next year, and maybe even an additional leading indicator for consumer spending and consumer sentiment, because this is some of the, I would say, the busiest streets I've seen since maybe 2018, 2019, pre-pandemic. I would say we've made a full recovery, to say the least. Anyway, a little bit of a volatile day in the markets, but ain't nothing but a thing. Charles Hong is here. What's up, Charles? Has heard about the Bryant Park fire. Yeah, I heard about that too. I don't think there was anything nefarious going on there for the fire at the Winter Village. Somebody texted me about that today. I think it happened at maybe around noon or 1 o'clock. I think I don't know. I think something just caught on fire. It burned down a few of the like those little houses, those kind of huts that they sell things from. Again, I don't know if it's anything nefarious, but I guess we'll find out. Professor Dario from Argentina is here. Welcome. Carl Roth, welcome. Thanks for joining. Trade Brigade, what's going on? We're going to be headed down. Hopefully we don't start buffering near Times Square, but they have set the stage up for the New Year's Eve celebration, so we'll go down there and check it out. But as always, we'll just start with the quick audio and visual check. So if you guys can hear us and if we're streaming in 1080p, just go ahead and leave a thumbs up in the chat and we'll get started. This is a nice Cybertruck here. Wow, look at all these tourists out today. Pretty crazy. I mean, you have these type of crowds all the way down Fifth Avenue today. I'll try to stand over here just so you can get a perspective of how many people are here. This is just like the old times in New York. You know, I think it's safe to say we probably return to like 110, 120% of the crowds for the holidays, which is really good news. Anyway, we'll get started in a minute. Ooh, John says it's going to be raining on New Year's Eve with a 90% chance of rain. Oof, that sucks. We'll have to wear a poncho or something. KB says, please say hi to my daughter Vivian. We watch regularly. Well, thanks so much for watching. We appreciate it. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. Happy Hanukkah for those who celebrate. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll try to get out of the street, but good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks in Wall Street on this very busy Friday afternoon in New York City, right on the corner of 57th Street and 5th Avenue here on Billionaires Row. It's a pretty volatile day in the markets, but we now have Bitcoin trading a little bit, a tick below the 50-day moving average, but you know, volumes aren't really that massive on exchanges right now. I think things are going to be pretty muted until the new year, frankly put. A lot of people are away. A lot of people are away from the desk and, enjoying the holidays with their friends and their family and things like that. So I would send caution to the wind for some, potential increased volatility that first week of the new year, as we talked about. Oftentimes, particularly on a really, really great year like we've had, right? There's only a few more days left of the year. But if I had to, make a prediction, I think we'll have back-to-back 20% plus returns for the S&P 500. And that hasn't happened in quite some time. So very, very strong market here. And usually when that happens, a lot of money managers, hedge funds will kind of ring the register on those big gains the first week of the new year. Now, why do they do this? Well, they usually do this to delay the taxes an additional year to kick it out one more April, right? So tax day is in April. If I were to sell stock right now, I would have to pay that tax bill in April of 2025. But if I just wait a week and ring that register and take my gains the first week of 2025, well, it kicks that tax bill an additional year, right, to April of 2026. So, I think in the leaders, making maybe a little bit of a prediction, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some big, downside vol in some of the leaders that perform so well this year, that first week of the new year. With that being said, we have a little bit of a kind of, I would say it definitely does tie into economics on the, the economic front of the new incoming administration. There's a lot of bickering and banter back and forth about, fighting over the H-1B visa crisis, which kind of we'll go into, because I think that, as we talk about AI, as we talk about, the U.S. being the leader in tech, we always talk about the United States being the brain drain on the rest of the world. I think that would be a relevant topic to kind of discuss and maybe provide a little bit of education so people understand that a little bit better, because I think there's a lot of misinformation going around. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat as we approach the Plaza Hotel and the Steinway Tower, all that good stuff. So sunshine after rain, welcome. I see Austin City Limits, Peter, Danny. It says, what letter grade would you give Biden's Federal Reserve Chairman? Well, I don't know if it's, you're talking about Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Letter grade, it's easy to be critical, but I'll give him a B+, maybe even an A. And the reason why I say that is because, look at the mess he's been handed and managed to deal with, right? Through COVID, through massive, fiscal spending, monstrous deficits, both under the Trump and the Biden administration, managing to tame inflation from 9.1% all the way back down into sub-3 territory without really the market throwing that much of a tizzy. So, look, I am very, very critical of the Federal Reserve and Fed Chair Jerome Powell from time to time. However, I think it is fair, right, to kind of look at the whole picture holistically and say, look, could I have done a better job? If you have inflation that ravages up to 9.1%, and you manage to launch the most aggressive monetary tightening cycle in more than 2 decades, while managing to not have unemployment spiral out of control, if anything, quite the opposite. The United States is quite literally at full employment. We have, record low, historic low unemployment in the United States. So, to be fair, again, it's almost unbelievable, the outcome. So with the mess that our government has left, Mr. Powell, I think he's done a pretty damn good job. Would you guys agree, disagree? I know that's going to be a hot button issue, but I try to be balanced. I try to be fair and balanced. So, Steph UF, cheers to you. Patrol says we have only had minor financial crisis for almost 100 years. The Fed is doing good work. It's difficult because I could make an entire compilation, bashing the Fed, but then I could also play devil's advocate. It's very, very difficult. I think the Federal Reserve really has exacerbated the wealth divide in the country. But at the same time, you could argue, the Fed is the reason why the markets are kind of ripping to new all-time record highs. The accommodative stance on monetary policy, obviously for the last decade, has been the reason why the U.S. has pretty much been at full employment. Ample amount of job opportunities, and you could even probably go as far to say that there's a correlation to the massive software as a service tech boom to very cheap money too. So does it exacerbate the wealth divide? As we kind of talked about yesterday, as the Fed provides liquidity is usually the juice for asset prices to go higher. The problem is who owns the majority of assets in the country? It's the top 10% of Americans. So you kind of have that big divide. But what if they didn't do that, right? Then probably unemployment would be much, much higher than it is now. I don't know. It's an interesting topic. Hey, Lewis is hello from Los Angeles. Hey, Lewis. Cheers. trade brigades, is personally I think he's done as good of a job as anyone could have done in that situation, although I don't think he handled that last meeting well. Yeah, to your point, to your other comment, kind of like low confidence, I would definitely agree with that. But, to your additional point, it's like, the guy's really been through the ringer, and you can kind of tell, if you even go back 2 FOMC meetings ago, everyone really in the media has been trolling him. I would think that's the appropriate word, and hammering him about Trump. Trump's going to fire you. Is Trump going to push you out? Trump this, Trump that. It's like nauseating having to deal with those comments, right? And if you rewatch the 2 prior press conferences ago, he just kind of seems so sick of it, didn't he? I mean, Powell is like so fed up with the Trump questions. It's almost he's like very coy in his responses and his answers. So maybe he's just had it. Maybe he's at just the end of his, again, I could bash Powell all day, trust me. But, I try to be fair. Hey, Joseph Hardaway, what's going on? I see Mike C. Cheers. Thanks for joining us. Brian says, I'm 50-50 on the Fed. They make good and not so good decisions. There's a lot of pressure, right? Because when you think about it, the Fed is supposed to act independently from the government, but we all live in reality and we can all read between the lines, right? So it's kind of like in banking, right? They call it the walls, the Chinese wall, I believe they call it. There is conflict of interest. There just is. It's life. We have to live in it. So to think that, a specific president doesn't influence the decision-making of the Fed, I mean, come on. I think it's quite obvious. There's a lot of pressure coming in from all sides. Ed Dunkel says people forget how awful Arthur Burns was. Well, and also people tend to forget just how aggressive former Fed chairs were and Fed presidents were, right? I will say this about Powell. Everything that he is like telegraphed the decision making from the Fed and like spoon fed it to everybody. So it's not like there were any big surprises, right? I mean, have we had one FOMC meeting conclusion that was like a big surprise? I mean, honestly, am I missing something? Every single meeting, Fed Chair Jerome Powell has quite literally spoon-fed the market. There were no surprises, told exactly, what he said he was going to do, they did. So I think that's good. I mean, there were no surprises. This is an awesome shot of Steinway Tower, by the way. And I think you could see someone's Christmas tree in there, too. Imagine how amazing those views must be from up there. If, you have your Christmas tree dead centered in the window. The backdrop is Central Park. That's like a one of one view, right? Hello, Mate 2008 says, hey, Tom, happy Friday night. Thank you so much. Patrol says, we haven't had a major liquidity crisis in almost 100 years. Well, we've had many liquidity crises. But to your point, actually, we are about to enter a new bull market, a fresh new bull market in terms of global liquidity. And liquidity drives asset prices. In addition, we live in a debt-based system. I think that's pretty apparent. I think that's pretty obvious. And whether you like it or not, the truth of the matter is the following. The system, in order to sustain itself and continue, fundamentally requires the acquisition of new debt in perpetuity. It can't stop, right? So we are kind of in between a rock and a hard place in this, fiat, monetary experiment that we're in, right? In order for things to sustain, it requires debt issuance and debt acquisition forever. Exploration says Waymo is a joke. Why do you say that? I'm curious. Waymo just made an announcement that they are now going to be starting operations in Miami, Florida in 2025, I believe. But I'm curious, why do you say that? Everybody that I talk to that has taken one of the Waymo autonomous vehicles have been pretty pleased. Sean Alexander says, do you think Tesla's Cybercab will eventually outperform Alphabet's Waymo? I think there's more than enough room for multiple competitors. But again, just speaking candidly here, if you're thinking about the next administration, the incoming Trump administration, you can argue that Elon Musk has been very involved, if you haven't noticed, right? Many people would even argue that he's really leading the charge. So, kind of reading in between those lines, it would be crazy to think that there wouldn't be like a streamlined system, green light, so to speak, of an autonomous future accelerating into the next administration. So I think autonomous vehicles, robo-taxis, robo-cabs are going to be great. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of people who disagree, that they're very resistant to it, but most people are resistant to change, I think. You have the NYPD directing traffic here. Shout out to the NYPD. Hey, Lady Orleans is here. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. We've talked about this before, but traffic fatalities, the road should continue to get more safe increasingly as we roll out full self-driving and full autonomy. That's huge. Safety is a big plus. Top cast is at least Trump is pro-business, Tom. UK government is the exact opposite. Yeah, I totally agree, and that's why I think it's going to be very, very difficult for any country to compete with the United States going forward. Particularly with this administration, it's very, very pro-business. If you listen to Ken Griffin's recent interview at the New York Times Dealbook Summit at Deutsche Bank Tower, Ken Griffin from Citadel essentially said, look, post-election, I've been traveling the world, meeting with world leaders, business leaders, CEOs, and the narrative is that the United States is open for business. All right, so we're now headed down Avenue of the Americas towards the Hilton Hotel, as well as 53 West 53rd Street. Now, additionally, what's going to make things very, very difficult for other countries to compete with the United States on a world stage is, I think a lot of the issues with our immigration system is going to be fixed with this new administration. We're going to kind of streamline the availabilities for, expedited process for H-1B visa and the like. which I think is a very misunderstood topic right now, especially people who are not kind of familiar with that system. But that's what we want to do, right? We want to make it very, very easy for the world's top talent to be able to come to the United States, build their businesses here and work at America's greatest companies, right? That's what we want. We want to attract the world's top talent. And one thing that's really not talked about, but it's true, one of the main reasons why the U.S. attracts so much talent is just our geography, right? And a favorable climate. The United States is huge, and it just so happens that many of our major cities have very favorable climate. You can stay in the United States, have some of the best skiing ever, and you could also have some of the best beaches in the entire world and in the tropics, right? I love Canada, I love our neighbors to the north, but the problem is, Canada, you have to leave the country to get warmth in the winter. Larry Adams says the Texas Stock Exchange will be interesting. Indeed it will. I almost said the Tesla Stock Exchange. Look at that. SL says can't disagree more. Yeah, it's a lot of people disagree, but is what it is. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I just think in order to stay competitive, right? And I was reading something on the X platform today. I forget who posted this tweet, but they were making a comparison between Japan and the United States. And there's been a lot of argument now, just civil debate about immigration and H-1B visas. And a lot of people want to end H-1B visas. And they're saying, how come Japan doesn't need to rely on immigration or H-1B visas to drive their economy, right? So I posted, I'm like, do a little bit of homework here. Go ahead and you could ask ChatGPT, you could ask Perplexity AI, or just do a Google search. Google what Japan's gross domestic product was in 1995, the year I was born, and then Google what the United States of America's GDP was in 1995, the year I was born. Then Google what US GDP was in 2023 and what Japan's GDP was in 2023, right? And you'll kind of get your answer there, right? Japan has been lethargic in terms of turned very bullish on Japan, and I've been writing a lot in the newsletter to get long Japanese stocks like the Nikkei index. I think it's going to make a new high any day now, is because Japan is now getting a little bit more lax on their immigration policy. They've been a very isolationist policy, Japan, and they don't have any new workers, and their population is very much below replacement rate. But if you look at the United States, what we've been able to do is attract the world's best and brightest from Europe, from Latin America, from Asia, all of the top talent in tech, engineering comes to the United States. It's a one-way street. America's a one-way street, okay? And that has been a main reason why U.S. GDP is probably going to be over $30 trillion within the next few years, right? And Japan GDP output is less than what it was in 1995. So the economic powerhouse that is the United States is like that because American culture and American society rewards hard work, right? Essentially, America, we say, if you want to come here and if you want to work hard, we will allow you individual freedoms, individual property rights. Essentially, more bluntly put, we will allow you to get absolutely unbelievable, filthy rich, enrich yourself, enrich your employees, capital creation for all, and it's not, that message is not spread in other countries, right? America is very entrepreneurial. It's kind of that, eat what you kill mentality. If you have an idea, if you have a dream, you can come to America and give it a shot. And that's proven in the numbers, right? That's not just me. Many people kind of go back and forth with me on Twitter, but it's in the numbers. A chart of U.S. GDP is up and to the right. It's like a hockey stick cartoon chart up and to the right. Okay? And U.S. equities have significantly outperformed emerging markets for the last 2 decades. There's a reason. There's a reason for that. So, whether you like it or not, American exceptionalism is real. It is a real thing. The American system works. Free markets work. And that's really all there is to say about that. Hey, Professor Dario, good to see you. Cheers to you. We're now walking right north of MoMA, actually. Look at how beautiful these stoops are here. JD, what's going on? Cheers. These are kind of nice outdoor dining tables here set up. OT, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Look at the interesting contrast in New York City architecture here. Now this is a mansion for sale. Somebody in our office actually is on this listing. Like, look at how crazy this is. Imagine being able to buy a mansion right off of Fifth Avenue and saying, yeah, I just bought this mansion here, and your view from your bedroom window is the new modern architecture of 53 West 53rd Street. It's kind of crazy, right? Check this out. I mean, you're going to need put a lot of work into this, but I mean, talk about a one-of-one property. This is an untouched New York City mansion. Like, it's just weird kind of even talking about it because, again, this is your view from your stoop. I mean, that's some baller stuff right there. That is really, really cool. Like, yeah, let me, walk right into my front door. This gorgeous spiral staircase here. Amazing. I'll try to get one more shot of the contrast in the facades. I mean, look at the moldings all over this, and then you have the 53 West 53rd in the distance. It's such a cool building. I know, SL's like, I'd like that on 100 acres. You and me both. But it's just so unique to be able to say, yeah, come over to my house. Just walk to my mansion right off of Fifth Avenue. So cool. Anyway. There's definitely a lot of hidden gems in New York. Jason says, Tom, is that your listing? It's not my listing, unfortunately. I'm very jealous of that listing. If I'm being honest, I wish it was my listing. It is not. Man, look at the... See, this is the kind of like aesthetic detail that I like. I like a lot of the wood paneling, almost like a little bit of a dated look, but classic look. You'll see what I mean as we walk past the University Club. Look at this thing. This is an architectural marvel here, right off of Fifth Avenue, the University Club. If you go to Google Images, you got to look up some of the images of the inside of this building. They're very, very, very... strict about no filming. It's a private club, but look at the detail on this thing. Check it out, Google it. University Club, New York City. Wow, they have a real wood-burning fireplace that guy is setting up in there. Let me know if you guys could see that on the camera, but that is insane. Look at that. Wood-burning fireplace, incredible chandelier, beautiful detail. Wow. If anyone's a member of the University Club and wants to invite me in, feel free. Just kidding around. But not really. If you are a member of the University Club and you want to invite me over, I would humbly accept the invite. So this is kind of like their grand ballroom, like dining area. You can see they have a camera looking right at us, but it is all right. They have a beautiful Christmas tree inside. We'll try to get a shot here just so you can see it. It's a landmark in New York building, the University Club. It was completed in 1899. Wow. Right off of Fifth Avenue. This is going to be a better shot. You know, the moldings on the ceiling are very, very reminiscent and similar to the New York Public Library and the Morgan Library as well. I'll try to navigate over to the other side of the street. As you can see, it's tourist city. Like the city is really, really alive. Now, if you're interested in New York City new development, across the street, this is a very notable new development on West 54th Street and Fifth Avenue. This is the Mandarin Oriental Residences on 5th. It's brand new, but they did a really good job with kind of keeping that architectural integrity in tune with the rest of the neighborhood here, and rightfully so. I mean, you're adjacent from the University Club. I'll try to stand on the other side of the street so we can get some better views of the inside. Esmeralda, what's going on? Good to see you. Here's their Christmas tree here. Sometimes you could see the members of the University Club sitting at these tables here, right at the window. Really nice. Continue on down. Really nice. I think we have to make a right and go around the block because it's going to start to buffer over there. Hey, TK Porsche, what's going on? Thanks for joining us. We're just doing one quick pass by the beautiful University Club. Wow, with a really, really nice wood-burning fireplace in there. Michelle K, good to see you. Evan Weeks is the juxtaposition of the homeless guy sleeping outside of an exclusive club for wealthy. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, right? That's something we've been talking about for a long time here. The New York City, like I've said, there's a lot of quality of life issues, and most people that have to deal with those quality of life issues are the poor and the middle class. I mean, if you think that's bad, not to kind of take a negative note on the stream, go ahead and take the subway, the F train, the 6 train after midnight. It's like, I can't even describe it, or we'll probably get the channel taken down. That's how extreme and severe the situation is in the subways after midnight. It's unbelievable. That's a really good word to use, the juxtaposition. Another interesting juxtaposition is, the government, local government here in New York City, claims to be so, liberal, so for the homeless, so, compassionate. But this is the most cutthroat, unbelievably harsh city to be homeless in the world. And I'll stand by that. It's either you've got all the money in the world and life is good, or it is a grind out the ass to live here. Trust me. There's this new Korean spot on the right. Matthews has talked to us unfiltered. I can't. I will get taken down. I think the channel may be a little bit shadow banned already from some of the stuff we talk about, so you might as well kind of keep it a little chill. Yeah, this is that new Korean restaurant I was talking about, Nari. I tried it. It's very expensive, and it wasn't that good. There's a lot more places that are more affordable in Koreatown that are lights out, unbelievable food. This was just okay, and it was very, 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 very expensive. Hey, John Doe, what's going on? Kevin says, I agree with you as far as in America being the harshest. Oops, sorry, lost your comment. For homeless, but those worldwide people get picked up and they're never seen again. It's tough. It's tough here. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I am quite curious. There needs to be some sort of study or research into why, because it's not necessarily the homeless, right? The homeless of today. Hope everybody's all right over there. This is the Alliance Bernstein building. Yeah, Roz 999 says state mental health needs to be reopened. That's the thing. It's quite obviously a mental health crisis. And the question is, how did it get this bad? I think, and I don't have the answers, I really don't know. But if I had to guess, I think it would be the hard drugs, the very, very hard, harsh narcotics, and fentanyl. Because people just don't get like that. I mean, some of the people that you see that are homeless, right? They honestly can't help it. And, if you've listened to this broadcast, I'm the most kind of pull yourself up by the bootstraps, do it yourself type of guy going. But most of the people that are homeless in New York City, it's impossible. It's impossible. These people, it's impossible to hold any type of job, any type of responsibility, pay any type of bills, because they're suffering so severely from this mental health crisis I've never seen, that I can't even put into words, right? I mean, we just had somebody, light somebody on fire in Brooklyn, and then literally an hour ago, we had another person do the same thing at Penn Station. Just, randomly come up to a tourist and just light them on fire. Like, homeless people don't do that. People that are like down in their luck, they just lost their job, so they lost their apartment. No. Like, severely mentally ill people do that type of heinous crime. So it's a big problem, and I don't know what the solution is. But maybe it starts with just getting the drugs off the street. It's almost as if kind of like the fentanyl changes people quite literally. Like, it changes the makeup of people. The short guy says tax the rich. Well, I mean, money's not the issue. There's unlimited money. Right? There's unlimited money. You could give each homeless person in New York City a check for $5 million, and in 3 years they'd all be homeless again. Right? If anything, that would probably make the problem exponentially worse. Money is not the answer. I mean, we've already done a case study with this in California. I mean, look up how much money the state of California has spent on trying to solve and aid the homeless crisis. And it's gotten exponentially worse. Again, it's all about the stewardship of the money as opposed to the money itself. Because money is unlimited, particularly in the United States. We're going to have a $30 trillion economy. Money is unlimited. You could give these people a blank check. You can give them debit cards with an unlimited spending limit. You'd still have the same problem. Evan Weeks says you'd have a mental health crisis too if you were treated like, yeah, for sure. Drugs off the streets. It seems as if drugs like fentanyl are so harsh that once you're hooked on it, it's virtually impossible to get off, which leads to a spiraling behavior, right? So once you're hooked on the fentanyl, the only thing you want to do is fentanyl, which in turn makes it so that you can't hold a steady job, you can't pay your bills, and thus you're on the streets. So perhaps that's part of the issue. Professor Dario says 100% agree, Tom. I have students from all kinds of economic status and they have mental issues. It's a horizontal problem. Yeah, it's sad because, I mean, just to see people in such despair, it's like, I don't know. And it kind of makes me question, like, is there any level of counseling that could really solve that issue? Because, that's another reason why I kind of almost characterize a lot of these drugs coming across the southern border as those are the real weapons of mass destruction, right? If we really want to think about it, the media, and we'll probably be banned by the end of the night, but it is what it is. But if you really trust like what the media and the government is scaring us about, Russia this, Russia that. We're going to have nuclear war. The threat is not a nuclear holocaust. It's a world filled with zombies from fentanyl. Fentanyl kills about 80,000 Americans a year. Okay, that is I think probably more than all of our casualties in the war in Afghanistan in 1 year. So that's the real weapon of mass destruction that is being funneled to destroy our society, right? So I wouldn't worry about nuclear war. I would worry about having fentanyl invade your communities. I mean, it's just not that much in your face. It's a slow creep, right? The threat of nuclear war, everybody's like, oh my gosh, the bomb is going to go off and it's going to kill people at mass. But fentanyl is a slow infection. It's like a parasite that infects and invades the community and explodes and spreads and destroys, really the social fabric of society. It's terrible. All right, let's cut over to 8th Avenue. Tomahawks, just take a look at Singapore to get the answer. Well, Singapore is very, very strict, and I think pretty much all drugs are illegal there. Liz has absolutely agree. The smaller towns in New York and Pennsylvania are hit hard. Evan Weeks is when people making $18 to $20 an hour need 3 to 4 roommates to even have a place to live, with heat in the winter and enough food that they don't develop nutrition issues. I mean, all of these are really good points, right? And that kind of brings our conversation full circle, right? To our original conversation of the night, which was the Federal Reserve. Right? Yeah, stock markets are at all-time record highs. Property valuations are at all-time record highs. But to Evan Weeks' point, the lion's share of Americans do not own those very assets that are trading at record highs, right? In terms of, the ratio, I think it's the top 5% of Americans hold about 90% of the wealth. So as those assets are being inflated, as you're trying to work and save, your rent is going up, so you have less and less money to put away to invest. So it's like a double-edged sword. But what do you think, being solutions focused here, right? We can complain about it all day, but what is kind of being relentlessly solutions focused? What do you think the solution is? I think at least, you got to put the hammer down on these drugs. Anecdotally, I'm not a researcher, I haven't done deep research on this, but just from walking around New York City, living here forever, there's a correlation, or at least there appears to be a correlation with drug use, homelessness, and mental health. So if we can at least maybe remove one of those variables, perhaps that should help the situation. Kathleen says fentanyl is 100 times more potent than morphine. Wow. Is routinely used in general anesthesia at doses of 100 micrograms. Here we are at 57th Street. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down 8th Avenue and cross over into Times Square, because if we go all the way down 6th or 7th, I think it's just going to buffer the entire time, so it's going to be very, very difficult. But for now, we're standing across the street from the beautiful Carnegie Hall. This is 57th Street and 7th Avenue. We're now looking over on the east side of Manhattan. Jonathan from Florida, what's going on? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us on this very busy night in New York. All right, let's walk right by the Osborne. That's also a good point. Evan Weeks says maybe it's just not exclusively drugs. It could be the symptom, not the cause. Yeah, so maybe there's like a correlation, causation. So I guess what you're saying, not to put words in your mouth, but perhaps you're like, due to the economic stress and hardship that results people to, lead to despair and turn to those, like drugs and alcohol and things like that. It's possible. It's definitely a culmination of the two, perhaps. This is the Brooklyn Diner here. Hey, Williams is first-time watcher. I have watched others, enjoying the conversation. Happy to be with you. Thanks so much for being here. Hopefully you've had a wonderful holiday season so far. This is the front of 217 West 57th Street. This is Central Park Tower. This is the tallest building on New York City's Billionaires Row. The developer is Extel. What's up, Who Dat Dave? If you're looking for a good diner, I'd actually recommend the one that's right over here. It's called The Flame. The Flame Diner is very, very good. It's sad because a lot of the original, like, mom and pop owned diners that you see on Long Island and in New York City, it's very, very difficult for them to stay open and compete with some of these bigger chains. So you really don't have much anymore. Same thing with those, the classic Jewish delis. Carnegie Deli closed down, which was a travesty for the city. We still have Katz's Deli open, thank God. So it's like we have to take advantage of these great establishments while we have them, right? Here we're looking up into Columbus Circle. We'll head over one more. We have to walk down 8th Avenue tonight, everybody, because there's such a massive crowdedness of tourists right now in Midtown that I think the stream would just cut out. So we'll try to do a little bit of a detour. We're going to walk pretty far west, and then we'll head down. Top Cat says, do you have a lot of 24-hour diners in the city? Not as much as we used to, but I'm telling you, The best one that I really like, the people are good, I know the family really well that owns it. It's right over here. You just walk to 9th Avenue and 57th Street. So it's on the corner of 9th. Actually, I lied. It's on the corner of 9th and 58th Street. It's called the Flame Diner. It's not like the best food ever, right? But it's just like the experience going to a regular diner. You know, it's like a neighborhood kind of community feel instead of going to like a chain all the time. But it's right over here. It's a few blocks away. Very good. Now, if anybody is familiar with Long Island, New York, there's also a lot of diners. There used to be a diner South Shore, Long Island, every town. You know, Massapequa Diner, Baldwin, you know, all the major towns on the Long Island Railroad all the way down. Hey, Omega Sparrow, thank you so much for your generous $2 donation. This is a blessed new year, 2025, amen. Thanks so much. Happy New Year to you too. I think 2025 is going to be a great year. Ooh, someone's asking the best K barbecue spot in New York City. No way, Hayes Productions. The Baldwin Diner was torn down. It's new condos now? Holy crap, I haven't been out there in a long time. Wow, I'm actually very sad about that. You gotta be kidding me, Hayes Productions. Are you serious? Holy crap. Now, sometimes I would get off at Baldwin, right? Because my uncle lived in Oceanside. Now, surprisingly, it is quite close. You just go south, and then you go to all the canals there. But man, that's a shame. At least the Massapequa Diner is still kicking. That kind of sucks. Well, thanks for letting me know that, Hayes Productions. That's a bummer. See exactly what we were talking about. A lot of the... Well, I mean, I guess this is like better alternative, but at least it closed down and then in its place is condos to provide housing for people, as opposed to like a McDonald's or something. I forget what the question was. Oh yeah, the K barbecue. Well, there was a good place right in K-Town on 32nd and 5th. It used to be called Baekjung. Closed down. There's a new owner. I forget the name of the restaurant that's in there now. I haven't tried it. But if you want, in my opinion, the best Korean spot in New York, hands down, okay? It's on 31st Street. It's called Take 31. You can look it up. TAKE 31. Now, it's pretty busy almost all the time there, so you're most likely going to need a reservation. But there is another Korean restaurant right next door. It's called Her Name is Han. I believe it's the same owner, and that is also very good, but I would opt for Take 31 first. But yeah, try those two out. There's been a lot of changes in Koreatown, but those two restaurants are pretty good. I think for a little bit of a more inexpensive option, you could go a little bit further north to Hanbat, Hanbat. That's pretty good. It's more of like a home cooking Korean meal, I would say. That's kind of how I would describe it. But hey, Dr. Murray Hill, MD, says if you're talking about the Baldwin Coach Diner in Baldwin, it appears it's still open. They have their Christmas and New Year's hours posted for the week. I'm talking about the one that's right on Sunrise Highway. Maybe that's the one I'm referring to. So if you take the LIRR, the Long Island Railroad, and you get off at Baldwin Station, you just cross the highway. It should be right there. I think that's the one I'm talking about. Oh, okay. So Dr. Murray Hill, MD says, yeah, that's the Baldwin Coach Diner. Got it. Yeah. So that one's still open, you're saying? There's also one in Merrick that I don't really go to. But my favorite is the Massapequa Diner. Now, Al Capone, that mobster, used to eat right there at the Massapequa Diner. There's actually an omelet named after him you could order there. It's called the Capone omelet. Sean Alexander says, what's the best Chinese restaurant in New York? It's also another hard one. It's a good question. I'll tell you my favorite one in Manhattan. My favorite Chinese restaurant in Manhattan is right in Chinatown, and it's on Mott Street. I think the address is 69 Mott Street, and it's called 456 New Shanghai Restaurant. But what I'll also say is that if you go to Flushing, Queens, there's more of a variety of good Chinese food at much more affordable prices. But my go-to spot in Chinatown is 456 New Shanghai Restaurant, right on Mott Street. That place is fantastic. Haven't been there in a long time though. It's been a while. Joyful Ones is Flushing has so many choices. Flushing's fantastic. Very easy to get to, by the way. It's just the last stop on the 7 train. And if you don't want to take the subway, you could just take the Long Island Railroad. It's express. It goes right to Flushing Main Street. So you could take the LIRR or the 7 train. Just take it all the way to the end. Scott's is Wohop. Wohop always has a crazy line, and I don't think it's good. It's very, very good. But I think I would still prefer the 456 New Shanghai. There's really no line. Oh, Scott. On a similar note, talking about Chinese restaurants in Chinatown, you know what restaurant I actually didn't like and I thought it was perhaps a bit overrated? Oh, speaking of diners, look at the Cosmic Diner. This is kind of like a classic New York diner, you know? What was I saying? Anyway. Oh, that's right. Joe Shanghai. Not a big fan. It's right across the street from the Manhattan Bridge. It just wasn't really that good, and it's always a massive line. I think there's a lot better places in Chinatown. I don't know if that's a hot take, but Joe Shanghai was kind of like just okay. Who Dat Dave's is the Capone omelet at Massapequa Diner. Is a delicious dish made with Italian sauces, roasted peppers, basil. Yeah, that's the one I get whenever I go home. That's my go-to. You guys are making me hungry now, actually. Jack says, is the Cosmic Diner good? I have never been to this diner. But it says now open until midnight. See, because when the COVID rolled through, a lot of places, these diners that were 24/7, they closed early. They closed at like 8 o'clock at night. So, but I think the Flame is still 24/7, I think. Actually, I know for a fact the Flame is 24/7 because I usually go there like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes when my friend gets off of work. Well, when we had his previous job. This has now been redeveloped into a hotel, which is really good news. Mike C says, let's all go to the Massapequa Diner. I'm down. Maybe once we cross 100,000 subs on the channel, I'll rent out the entire Massapequa Diner and we could all blow it out for fun. Or we could go to Del Frisco's, whichever one you guys prefer. I think my wallet would much prefer Massapequa Diner, but if you guys want to go to Del Frisco's, I'm game. Now, I remember this Romer Hell's Kitchen Hotel. This used to be, I think this used to be a Holiday Inn, if I remember correctly. Maybe someone could look that up. This is right on the corner of 52nd Street and 8th. I could have sworn that before the pandemic, this used to be a Holiday Inn, and then it was abandoned. And it looks like they redid it. Actually, it looks pretty nice in there. Good to see you. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream today, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. If you're just joining us, we're headed to Times Square to check out the stage for the New Year's celebration. Hey, what's up, Mohammed? Says, any good recommendations on an Indian restaurant in New York City? Yes, I have two. Unfortunately, I don't remember the names, but I could tell you where they are, if that works. They're very good. I've actually just went recently. It's on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. I believe it is right across the street from the Lucerne Hotel, and that would be 72nd Street and Amsterdam. It's right on that corner. That place is actually very good. Very, very good. It's funny you mentioned that. I just went there recently. That's a pretty nice hotel. It's has a very pretty facade, the Lucerne. 72nd and Amsterdam. There's also a pretty good coffee shop right there. It's called how could I forget the name of this coffee shop? I go there all the time. Irving Farm Coffee Roasters, 72nd Street and Broadway. You just take the one train, get off at 72nd, or excuse me, 79th Street. 79th, I apologize. Not 72nd. I'm getting my subway stops confused. 79th Street and Amsterdam. It's close to the Museum of Natural History. That's my dyslexia. Speaking of another kind of new hotel that's been redeveloped, this is the Hotel Theta, the Kipton Theta. Even though it's on 8th Avenue, it's quite nice. The rooms are very big and it's affordable. This is also Nomura. We had a conversation about Japan and the Japanese economy earlier in the stream. Hey, Michaela, what's going on? Slow Tom, hope you and your family had a wonderful Christmas. Sending a happy New Year wishes from Florida, likewise. I should be in Florida early 2025. Hassan B says, Tom, I can't wait until the Waldorf opens. It seems like it's been ages. It really has. And there's been a lot of problems with that construction. There's been a lot of difficulty, mainly because the building is so old. But it is about time. I mean, it's really going to revitalize that portion of Park Avenue, I agree. I'm also excited about the Waldorf Astoria downtown Miami. They already have the first 8 stories above ground, and it looks awesome. And they're already starting to close on a lot of the units, too. One of the trophy penthouses just sold to Tony Robbins. I think for over $22 million. Pre-construction. NBA Liars, what's going on? Reed says, how come New York has such bad trash pickup? It's just really tough, and it looks a lot worse right now. I'm not trying to be like an apologist to make an excuse, but this is like peak tourist season here, so you're always going to have a lot of garbage, but it's just difficult because we don't have alleyways. There's really nowhere to put the garbage. You have to put it on the street. Like, ironically, here's an example right here. Hey, Tofu Shoots, what's up? Good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you've had a good week, and happy Friday, by the way. Nina is here. Sunshine after rain. Yeah, that's true. It's crazy, isn't it? I remember doing these live streams, quite literally. We would do them for 3 hours almost a night with just me and Sunshine After Rain. And like a few others, maybe like 2 or 3 other people, just us 3 chatting for 3 hours. Those were good times. These are good times too. Stream's a little bit bigger, a lot more people, but I think we got a good group. You guys are all pleasant to talk to. I think I learn a lot. I think this live stream has helped me gain perspective on different topics, which I think has benefited my life greatly, I think. Wow, somebody says watching from Fiji. Very cool. Yeah, Dan Russell too. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year, Dan. Always a pleasure. Trust you and the family are doing well. Kathleen's is keeping with the food theme. There's an excellent bagel place and gelato spot on Amsterdam. Ooh, I know exactly the one you're talking about, I think. Kathleen, is that the one literally directly adjacent on the corner of 79th Street in Amsterdam? It's like a little hole-in-the-wall bagel spot. I forget what it's called. It's a kosher bagel spot, though. And it's like a full-on deli. That's a good spot. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, but I go there a lot. JD says, I heard the sanitation people can make about $150,000 a year in New York. I believe it really depends on the pension structure. Some of those older Tier 1 and Tier 2 pensions in New York City are pretty crazy. And that's one of the things that's kind of bankrupted the city. Now, what I think's going on for some kind of local New York City finance and politics, there's a big investigation going on right now that was opened up into the New York City Police Department, I believe over overtime. Now, I'm not casting any judgment, I'm just kind of reporting the news, but apparently there were some officers, like really, really high-ranking officers, that were clocking 95-hour work weeks consecutively for like 5 years. But obviously that's impossible, so they're alleging overtime fraud, and these people were making like $380,000 as a police officer. So there seems to be corruption everywhere, but we'll see. My thing is, if you're going to make it corrupt, at least don't be so obvious. Like, obviously, it's impossible to clock 95 hours a week and make, like $400,000 a year in overtime alone. That just seems like craziness to me. Anyway, this is the construction site of the Torch building, but unfortunately it's put on pause. 46th Street. Yeah, Hassan B. Yeah, that's when we used to cruise around on the skateboard there. Hilarious. I mean, with all this talk about DOGE, like the Department of Government Efficiency and stuff, that's at the federal level. I mean, think about how much waste and corruption there is at the state and local level around the United States. I mean, there's not zero, right? I mean, I think both Democrats and Republicans can both agree that the number is not zero. There's a lot of corruption and waste. Maybe there'll be a big, huge overhaul. We'll see. I also believe that there's a lot of corruption and waste in the MTA as well. Now, I don't like to... It's a very kind of sensitive subject, but, you'll walk into a subway station, right? And sometimes I'm commuting home very, very late at night, and there'll be, an MTA employee just sitting in the booth at the 57th Street subway station, just on her phone, watching YouTube videos. And these employees are making, $80,000 a year, and they just sit in the subway booth. And, a tourist will come up and ask them for directions, and then they won't give them the directions. They'll just give them an attitude and just point to the little electronic sign or just say, huh, what, huh, just Google it. And whenever you ask them something, it seems like they're quite agitated, like, how dare you interrupt my YouTube session? Or listening to music or talking on the phone in the little MTA booth to ask me a question. It's like they get agitated at you. Those jobs don't need to exist, okay? We don't need to have people in the little booth anymore. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has Google Maps. You don't even help anyway. So there's a lot of waste, and also a lot of the janitorial work that is contracted with the MTA is a major fraud, allegedly. We could have a whole stream about that. They have waves and waves of janitorial workers that are MTA contractors that are supposed to be cleaning the stations. The stations are extremely dirty, and they just hang out and talk on the phone and smoke cigarettes in the subway station at 3 a.m. Not to really ream in and rip into the MTA, but it's like, the MTA loses money, and then they want to raise the fare every year, and they don't want to crack down on the fare evasion. So it's like, they don't crack down on the fare evasion, they raise the fare, and they waste all this money. So we could pay their pensions for not really doing anything. So it's a waste of taxpayer dollars, in my view. It's not fair. All right, everybody, I think we're going to bang a left here. This is 44th Street. This should be directly where the stage is, if I'm not mistaken. It should stretch and span from 44th to 43rd, to 42nd. But we just have to make a left, and then we have to make a right. So we'll see if the internet goes out. Yeah, data discoveries is in medical for life for sure. Jack says, do you think the MTA wants to make the MTA better? Look, there's good employees and then there's bad employees, right? Obviously, I think everybody here, we're adults and we're all smart individuals. So obviously there's some good, very, very good, awesome MTA employees, but there's also a lot of them that I interact with every day that are just like dead weight on the MTA and just a total waste. You don't need them, right? If we're just being blunt honest. I'm probably going to have the MTA put a hit out on me or something. But if you want to also talk about just disgusting negligence and corruption, look into the Long Island Railroad. If you want to talk about fraudulent overtime, look at what some of the top brass at the Long Island Railroad are making, okay? You're talking, $500,000, $600,000 a year in overtime that they've obviously have not worked. And the Long Island Railroad could be totally automated, right? Has anybody ever been to a subway in Korea or Japan, right? You don't need a person, okay, walking around the MTA cars on the Metro North of the Long Island Railroad saying, tickets, get your tickets out, and with a little ticket puncher and staple punching a paper ticket. Okay, this isn't the Polar Express. All right, this is 2024. We could automate everything. We don't need a physical conductor walking these train cars, punching a paper ticket or looking at my phone. But it's just the unions are super, super strong, so that'll never happen. You'll have those paper ticket puncher guys there forever, But it's like, and again, I want to tread kind of carefully here because I don't want it to seem like I'm ripping into people, but it's like, guys, you don't need a paper ticket puncher guy to check everybody's ticket. You could just make gates at every single station and they could just buy, the Long Island Railroad pass and tap in. Brad's Brains says the conductors protect you when the bandits climb aboard the train. Well, I will say this. The conductors on the Long Island Railroad, for whatever reason, they do not play around. If you don't have a ticket, those guys and girls will stop the train. They don't care. They will stop the train at the next station. They will wait for the MTA police to get there, and they will drag you off the train. Those guys and girls are ruthless with making sure people pay the fare. It's crazy. All right, I think this is where it is. Oops. We actually overshot it. We have to go south a little bit. Hey, Tofu Shoots, thank you so much for your support. Appreciate it. Enjoy your workout. And have a wonderful day. We're going to try to...
Watch out, ladies. Starbucks don't sell this hot chocolate. Woo!
We're going to try to get down to...
Ways that you
One, two,
How's the internet holding up? There's a lot of people in Times Square tonight. So here is a little bit. I guess they're sectioning things off right now to build the stage. You could see a little bit of the New Year's Rocking Eve, I believe they call it, set up in the distance. And I think there's going to be an additional stage right here where the security guard is standing. I just don't know the best way to get around. Maybe we'll try to go back that way and around. How's the internet? Are we buffering a little bit?
Comedy tickets, guys. Who wants to go?
All right, here is the stage. You can see everybody building it. Pretty cool. You can see the lights going up a little bit. This is probably all the audio-visual equipment in the boxes or in the trunks. What's up? I don't know. You should probably get out of the middle of Times Square then. All right, let's go over here, get away from this guy. It's like the guy comes up from behind me and says, "Hey, just don't film me. I don't want to be on camera." And I'm like, well, then it's probably best not to tap me on the shoulder to get my attention and stand in the middle of Times Square where there's 80,000 cameras filming 24/7, 365 with a bunch of tourists around. If you want to be private, it's probably best not to stand in the center of the universe at the crossroads of the world in Times Square. There's probably going to be some cameras around. This is pretty cool to see behind the scenes, though. I think this entire area is going to be the stage. I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to steal my phone or something, because I'm not even filming behind me. He comes up and taps me on the shoulder behind me. Let's see if we can go around the other side. And maybe we could see the numerals. We're gonna have to go all the way around. Man, these billboards are so bright. Not too sure how it comes out on the broadcast, but some of the new ones are insane. Like, the detail is really unbelievable on some of these. I think they should just close down Times Square. I think it looks a lot better. At least for the week. If they could just close it down. It's almost as if just the people have kind of closed down the streets themselves. But maybe the city should do that, like 2 or 3 days leading up to New Year's Eve. Just close down Broadway. Anybody know what time it is real quick?
Comedy Central, guys. Want to see who's on, guys? Comedy show? Comedians are ballad.
Trade Brigade 1048. All right, right on time. I'm going to zoom in on the numerals. That's always cool to see. So right in front of the ball, you can see the 2025. So they'll raise the ball all the way to the top of One Times Square. That's kind of cool to see it from here. Wow, 2025. What do you guys think of that? This year's definitely been a blessing, that's for sure. Times Square is a very interesting place, to say the least. So I think this is going to be the second stage. They kind of closed off everything here. And it looks like these big tractor trailers are bringing in probably some more of the equipment. Anybody like Jollibee? This place is pretty famous. I've never tried it though. There was a huge line. There was like a big event when this first opened. Top Cat says that's potentially the focal point for the stage. Go for Hockey's welcome. JD says it's just okay. It's from the Philippines, I think, right? Yeah, Old Tape Archive, that's what I thought. It's very, very famous in the Philippines.
Oh my god.
Swamps, this looks like seed oils. Of course it's seed oils. Maybe we'll bang a left here. All right, what'd you guys think? We're making a left by the NASDAQ. This is the CNBC studios. That's right in that window. That's where, Angie Ross Sorkin sits for the morning. That's where they film that show. Let me just check my battery. But wow. I mean, anecdotally, guys, people are out. I mean, I heard 50 million different languages being spoken. People are out traveling, spending money. This is our national debt. Yikes. $35,770,685,000,000. 67,193. My family's share is $559,238. Ooh. Not to end the stream on a depressing note. Yeah, Jack, and it's all my fault. Remember that meme? Everyone was like, thanks, Obama. Anyway, yeah, there's no way we're going to pay that off, unfortunately. It's kind of depressing looking at that number, right? It's almost not even real. It's actually, technically, it is not real. It's just make-believe. 35 trillion. What's the difference between 50 trillion? What about 100 trillion? Anyway. Hey, Old Tape Archive, thank you so much for your $25 donation. This is happy holidays to Tom and everybody in the Walks on Wall Street world. Appreciate the support. Hopefully you've had a good holiday season. We've definitely been taking a little bit of a break the last few days, but I think that's all right. We've been hitting it hard this year, for sure. I mean, we covered a lot. I mean, kind of doing a self-reflection on some of the stuff we've covered live on the show this year. It's been crazy. It's been a very, very crazy year, but also a very, very amazing year, markets-wise, right? Screaming bull market. I'm not too sure. Rich Girl answers, what's New Year's Eve like in Miami? I'll be there next year for it. I'm never in South Florida for the holidays. I'm always home here in New York. I don't know. I think I would much prefer to be in New York City for the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. I mean, Miami is nice. Trust me, I'm the biggest Miami bull anywhere, but it just doesn't really feel like the holidays down there, to be honest. Because there's palm trees, it's too tropical, which I love, by the way. But, you know, New York City really has that holiday vibe, if you ask me. Now, this is where that fire broke out today. I'm not sure if you guys heard about that, but there was a really tragic fire at the Winter Village at Bryant Park. Let's actually check it out. I don't know if they closed it down temporarily or not, but I think there was a good portion of the Winter Village that burned down today. Now, I don't know if it was nefarious, but somebody was also set on fire just 2 hours ago at Penn Station, which that's obviously nefarious, right? I mean, why else would you set anybody else on fire? Oh, is that right? DC-322 was a grease fire. It's still terrible, but I'm glad it wasn't. You can kind of smell it too. You kind of smell the burnt. We might as well check it out. I think it happened down here. Wow, Tom from Midtown says it's a shame for the vendor. It costs $40,000 to rent a booth at Winter Village. Really? Oh, maron. Does it really cost $40,000 to rent a booth like this? You think these people sell over $40,000 worth of ties and stuff like that? I don't know. I mean, the food vendors for sure, but I'm very curious to see the profit margins there. Peter Sifat says it was $50,000. I'll have to text him. That's wild. Hopefully they can make a profit from that. That seems a little bit high, doesn't it? I'm sure it varies depending on where you are, but yeah, Michelle, it seems a bit steep, right? Oops, I think we have to go this way. Okay, so it's $25,000 to $40,000, depending on the booth. Trade Brigades has heard similar. Wonder if it's an easy end-of-year tax write-off. Yeah, that's a good point. Now, the Winter Village is open for what? 2.5 months, I think? Maybe longer? I actually don't know. Maybe much longer than that. Anyway, hopefully they turn a profit. Ice skating rink is pretty busy tonight. Oh, okay. Someone says the fire was right by the carousel, so we'll walk over there and see the damage. Stevens says the fire was by the carousel. That's where we're headed now. Yeah, that's a bummer. That's unfortunate. I saw that. I think it happened early in the day. I think around maybe like 10 a.m., 11 or something. You can see they kind of closed it down. It says do not enter. Maybe it was right here, and then they just were very quick to remove everything. That's what I'd assume, right? Yeah, because it definitely smells for sure. So maybe it's right here. That's a bummer. This is the only place I go to at the Winter Village, this Breezy Hill Orchard. This place is very good. It's expensive, but it's a solid spot. Very, very good.
They've been around like 3 times.
Anybody have any updates on what happened like 2 hours ago at Penn Station? Somebody sent me that somebody was on fire right at the entrance of the Long Island Railroad, right at Penn Station. So it seems like there's people going around setting each other on fire, which is terrible. Anyway, guys, I do have to head out for the night. But if you enjoyed the broadcast, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. We will be back here live tomorrow at 8:45 p.m. It's been a very eventful week, Christmas week, and then next week is the last week of the year. So thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Sabrina Fair, Trade Brigade, Professor Dario, Connie Ruiz, Mohammed, Abdullah, NBA Elias, Steph UF, Nina, NAV407. We'll see you all right back here tomorrow. I'm going to try to get you guys down to Chinatown. So we'll take a walk through Chinatown, Little Italy. Maybe we'll go to the Bowery too, which is always fun. We'll see you soon. Take care. TK Porsche, Fun Feeds, Jack. See you tomorrow.